Our next speaker, if you're in the Second Amendment movement, you're online, then you know who this guy is. This guy, he is a passionate defender of our right to keep and bear arms. He is the National Gun Rights Examiner. His name is David Codrea. Please welcome him now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. This is where I'm supposed to stand, huh?
Absolutely. That's fine.
All right. I think everybody saw President Clinton calling us patriots the other day and saying that even if it's not us, our rhetoric inspires hate. And I would like to just share a communication I get that's kind of representative of ones that I get all the time. And it said, and I'm sharing it with you because it concerns everybody here. Okay, I'm sharing it because it concerns everyone here. It was directed to all of us. It says, I hope they shoot y'all in the head. You're no different than a bunch of Islamist terrorists. Okay? That's what, and we are the haters. We're the haters.
Consider the sword.
Okay, several years back, they always come anonymously. They never have the guts. You know, if I had something to say to somebody that was strong, my code of ethics says I'm going to go up and talk to them face to face. Okay? Several years back, I wrote a magazine article, and it looked at the causes leading Americans to demand their independence. And then it looked at infringements to liberty that we're facing today and kind of compared the two. And I thought it would be especially appropriate for Patriots Day, so I adapted that article a bit for today's gathering, and it's called Intolerable Acts. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. George Santayana. History, it's been observed, is written by the victors. We're fortunate, therefore, that those who want our freedom placed a premium on truth, and that we have a record we can trust. We, the heirs of triumphant revolutionaries, need to examine our stewardship of the legacy they bequeathed us and understand how our challenges compare with theirs, so that we don't blow it big time. Hindsight, it's been said, is 20/20. From our vantage point in the present, we can look back across the years. We can single out the trials that irrevocably set our forebears on the path to rebellion. So it should be easy to isolate what mistakes were made, recognize those situations analogous to our own, and chart our course accordingly, right? You would think. So why aren't we doing that? Perhaps the War of Independence was inevitable, but George III and his Parliament couldn't have fanned the flames of insurrection any harder had they adopted to lose the colonies as their mission statement. True, they had their reasons, some of them not unfair on the surface. Still, with an iron-fisted incompetence refined by centuries of tyrannical rule and elitist inbreeding, the remedies sanctioned by the Crown all but guaranteed escalating tensions to the point of revolt. And while a brute may at times motivate a stubborn mule with a stick, he uses it on a stubborn freeman at his peril. Of more worth is one honest man to society, and in the sight of God, than all the crowned ruffians that ever lived. Thomas Paine. A ruler whose core competency generally involves crushing people who get in his way and scaring the hell out of everyone else tends to embrace a philosophy that goes something like, do what I say or I'll kill you. This doesn't go over well with the liberty-minded, who have their own plans for life, and who know that the most productive and durable human motivator is, always has been, and always will be the pursuit of happiness. A corollary to this might be the more independent a people, the more likely they'll push back when provoked. And could there have been a more self-reliant breed than these colonials, who carved the civilization out of the wilderness and who are more than ready, able, and equipped to defend their lives and properties, and who understood and jealously guarded their common law heritage and rights as freeholders? You'd have to be out of your mind to pick a fight with a people like that. So naturally, If you're a congenital mental defective fated to yield the throne to a regent due to progressive dementia, your solution to all this would be to pick a fight. Because the idea of hereditary legislators is as inconsistent as that of hereditary judges or hereditary juries, and as absurd as an hereditary mathematician or an hereditary wise man, and as ridiculous as an hereditary poet laureate. Thomas Paine. Fixing his eye on the colonies, King George and his Parliament took a major step towards starting the fight by imposing the Stamp Act on all official documents, even newspapers, so press take note. And just to show everybody they weren't kidding, anyone caught violating it would be tried without benefit of jury, and the predictable condemnation from colonial assemblies, riots incited by the Sons of Liberty, and boycotts on British goods led to the law's repeal but a year after its enactment. Seeing how well that didn't work, Parliament passed the Townshend Acts, which levied taxes on vital items like glass, lead, and tea. It created a board of customs commissioners which put the squeeze on American shipping by seizing property and vessels through a practice we today call asset forfeiture. Ensuing riots led to the occupation of Boston, which really got people mad, and came to a head in the Boston Massacre. So much for that approach. That weak and witless person, the Elector of Hanover, sometimes called the King of England, Thomas Paine. At some point, you'd think the king would have exhibited a seasoned enough grasp of cause and effect to find a new approach. Instead, he found a new prime minister, Frederick North, who turned out to be the perfect executor for stirring things up royally. With boycotts hurting the bottom line, Lord North knew the Townshend Acts had to go, but he couldn't believe it at that. After all, if you let your subjects decide if they should be taxed, they might just get the idea that no is an option. So he left the tea tax in place just to show everyone who the boss was, and he must have just about hemorrhaged when news came back about the Boston Tea Party. Okay, time to regroup. We've just experienced several high-profile disasters when we tried to force obedience from insurrectionist subjects. Coercion has failed repeatedly, and we are not amused. So what's a despot to do? How about inducing Parliament to pass the coercive or intolerable acts? Blockade Boston Harbor, cancel the Massachusetts Colony Charter, ban town meetings and put in a puppet regime, appropriate private property to quarter troops, remove soldiers and officials accused of crimes to England where they can be tried by sympathizers, and for good measure, expand Quebec's borders at the expense of the colonies. Crikey, why didn't we think of this before? One can only wonder what the scene at the Royal Court was like upon hearing of the First Continental Congress convened to unify opposition to the intolerable acts and develop strategies for their resistance and repeal. But before the Congress could hold a second session, the overlords made the one defining move toward unmasked tyranny that forever eliminated any chance at peaceful grievance resolution. They committed the one heavy-handed blunder that left their proud and defiant subjects but one recourse: rebellion. Because the damn fools sent out troops to confiscate arms.